Greetings, my fellow adventurers. It's Alara. Welcome back to our cozy sanctuary, where the magical whispers of the wizarding world and the charm of Hogwarts come alive in tales of bravery and unexpected journeys. Tonight, we follow the footsteps of a most extraordinary keeper of keys and grounds, Rubeus Hagrid, as he embarks on a daring mission beyond the familiar grounds of Hogwarts into the unknown, joined by none other than Harry Potter. Together, they face challenges where courage is tested and magical wonders and dangers await. So, find your coziest spot. Let the magic of this enchanting world ignite your imagination, and prepare to be carried away on a tale of friendship, discovery, and suspense. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and which tales you'd love to hear next. Let's begin. Hagrid's day had started much like any other. The crisp autumn air filled the Hogwarts grounds as he strode across the dew-covered grass toward the castle, Fang trotting happily at his heels. His morning chores of feeding the thestrals and checking on the pumpkins in his garden were done, leaving him time to enjoy a leisurely breakfast in the Great Hall. However, just as he reached the doors, a screech owl swooped down and dropped a letter into his hands. The envelope bore the unmistakable wax seal of the Hogwarts headmaster. Hagrid frowned, his large fingers carefully breaking the seal. The note inside was brief, but urgent. Hagrid, your presence is required in my office immediately. This is a matter of utmost importance. Albus Dumbledore. Hagrid's curiosity piqued as he turned and made his way toward the headmaster's office. Dumbledore's requests were never to be taken lightly, and the tone of the note suggested something serious. The spiral staircase leading to the office seemed to stretch endlessly, but Hagrid barely noticed. He knocked on the polished oak door and entered at Dumbledore's beckoning. Hagrid," Dumbledore greeted him warmly from behind his desk. The headmaster's long silver beard gleamed in the morning sunlight filtering through the stained glass windows. Fawkes, his phoenix, let out a soft trill from his perch in the corner. "Morning, Professor," Hagrid said, tipping his hat nervously. "What's this all about?" Dumbledore gestured for him to take a seat before producing a small wooden crate from beneath his desk. The crate was about the size of a shoebox, intricately carved with runes that glowed faintly. Hagrid felt the faint hum of magic emanating from it as Dumbledore placed it gently on the desk between them. "Hagrid, inside this crate lies something extraordinary and extraordinarily dangerous," Dumbledore began. His tone was calm, but carried a weight of seriousness. "It is the egg of a Crimson Basilisk." Hagrid's eyes widened in astonishment. "A Crimson Basilisk? I thought they were just legends." "Many did," Dumbledore admitted, his eyes twinkling with curiosity. "This egg was discovered during a raid on a dark wizard's hideout. How the egg survived this long is unclear, but it has begun to stir. This means it could hatch at any time." Hagrid leaned closer, his immense curiosity battling with a sense of dread. Basilisks were rare and dangerous enough, but a Crimson Basilisk? Their venom was said to be even more potent, and their fiery gaze capable of scorching entire forests. "And you want me to I need you to take this egg to a safe location, Dumbledore said firmly. Somewhere remote, where it can be protected. We must prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. A creature like this could be devastating if controlled by those with malicious intent. Hagrid straightened in his chair. Of course, Professor. You can count on me. I knew I could, Dumbledore replied with a small smile. But Hagrid, I must warn you. There are those who know of this egg's existence. They will do anything to claim it. Hagrid nodded solemnly. I'll be careful. Dumbledore handed him the crate, and as Hagrid took it into his large hands, he felt the weight of not just the egg, but the responsibility it carried. By the time Hagrid returned to his hut, he had formulated a rough plan. He would take the egg deep into the Forbidden Forest, to a hidden grove protected by ancient wards. It was one of the few places he knew that could shield the egg from prying eyes, until Dumbledore decided what to do next. As he secured the crate in his pack, a knock came at his door. Hagrid opened it to find Harry Potter standing there, looking curious. Hagrid, what's going on? I saw you leaving Dumbledore's office, Harry said, craning his neck to peek inside the hut. Nothing you need to worry about, Hagrid replied, but his evasive tone only made Harry more suspicious. Hagrid, Harry said firmly, crossing his arms. You're hiding something. Hagrid sighed, scratching his beard. All right, but you gotta promise not to tell anyone. Harry nodded, and Hagrid explained the situation, keeping his voice low. As he described the Crimson Basilisk Egg and the dangers surrounding it, Harry's eyes widened. That sounds serious, Harry said. You're not going alone, are you? Well, I was planning to... No way, Harry interrupted. If there are people after this egg, you'll need backup. I'm coming with you. Hagrid hesitated, but Harry's determined expression left no room for argument. Fine, Hagrid relented. But you do exactly as I say. You hear me? Harry grinned. Deal. The Forbidden Forest was alive with its usual symphony of rustling leaves and distant howls. The towering trees loomed overhead, their branches twisting together to form an almost impenetrable canopy. Sunlight barely filtered through, casting the forest floor in dappled shadows. Hagrid led the way, his lantern casting a warm glow, as Fang padded silently beside him. Harry followed closely, his wand at the ready. How far is this grove? Harry asked, glancing around nervously. Not too far, Hagrid replied, but we'll have to be careful. This forest's got eyes and ears. As they ventured deeper, the sounds of the forest seemed to shift. The usual calls of birds and rustling leaves grew fainter, replaced by an eerie silence. Harry's grip on his wand tightened. Suddenly, Fang let out a low growl. His ears perked up. Hagrid stopped in his tracks, holding up a hand for Harry to do the same. Someone's following us, Hagrid muttered. Harry spun around, scanning the shadows. Who? Don't know, Hagrid said, his eyes narrowing. But they ain't friendly. Before they could react, a voice called out from the darkness. Going somewhere with that egg, Hagrid? Harry and Hagrid turned to see a figure emerge from the shadows. Clad in a dark cloak, the man's face was obscured, but his wand was drawn and glowing faintly. That's none of your business, Hagrid growled, stepping protectively in front of Harry. "Oh, I think it is," the man said, his voice smooth and mocking. "That egg is worth more than you can imagine, and I intend to claim it." "Not while I'm breathing," Hagrid shot back, raising his crossbow. The man smirked. "We'll see about that." With a flick of his wand, the man sent a bolt of red light hurtling toward them. Hagrid fired his crossbow, the bolt intercepting the spell mid-air. "Harry, stay behind me," Hagrid shouted, reloading his weapon. But Harry wasn't about to stand idly by. "Expelliarmus!" he shouted, aiming his wand at the man. The spell missed, and the man retaliated with a flurry of curses, each one narrowly missing Hagrid and Harry. Fang barked furiously, lunging at the man, but he deflected the dog with a simple flick of his wand. "We can't fight him here," Hagrid said, pulling Harry back. "We need to move." As they retreated further into the forest, the man pursued them, his curses lighting up the darkness like fireworks. The chase through the forbidden forest had only just begun. But Hagrid knew this was only the first of many obstacles. With Harry by his side, and danger at every turn, he would need every ounce of courage and wit to protect the Crimson Basilisk Egg and complete his mission. The shadows of the forbidden forest seemed to grow deeper as Hagrid and Harry pressed on. The faint rustle of leaves and distant crackle of twigs betrayed the presence of someone, or something, following them. Harry's wand was gripped tightly in his hand, the tip faintly glowing with a soft lumos. Fang growled low and steady, his ears flat against his head. "Hagrid, do you think it's one of those people Dumbledore warned you about?" Harry whispered, his voice barely audible over the forest's whispers. "Could be," Hagrid muttered, his eyes scanning the dense trees. "Stay close, Harry, and keep that wand ready." The two continued cautiously, their footsteps muffled by the mossy ground. Every so often, Hagrid glanced over his shoulder, his hand brushing against the hilt of his crossbow strapped across his back. The tension was palpable, the forest alive with an ominous energy. They reached a small clearing, where moonlight pierced through the thick canopy above. Hagrid stopped abruptly, his instincts telling him they weren't alone. "Show yourself!" Hagrid roared, his booming voice shattering the silence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, from the shadows, a figure stepped forward, clad in a dark, hooded cloak. The person moved with a deliberate grace. Their face was obscured, but a wand gleamed in their gloved hand. "Well, well," the figure said in a smooth, mocking voice. "The famous Hagrid, carrying something far too valuable for someone like you." Harry stepped forward, his wand aimed directly at the stranger. "Who are you? What do you want?" The hooded figure chuckled, a cold, unsettling sound. "I think you already know, boy. That egg belongs to me. Hand it over and I might let you both walk away." "Not a chance," Hagrid growled, shifting his stance to shield Harry and the pack containing the egg. The figure tilted their heads slightly, as if amused. "So be it." With a flick of their wand, a jet of red light shot toward them. Hagrid reacted instantly, grabbing Harry and pulling him to the ground. The spell sizzled past, striking a tree and leaving a scorch mark on its bark. "Stay behind me," Hagrid barked, pulling his crossbow free. He fired a bolt at the attacker, but they moved with inhuman speed, dodging it effortlessly. Expelliarmus! Harry shouted, sending his own spell toward the figure. The attacker blocked it with a quick shield charm, retaliating with another flurry of curses. "Harry, we can't fight here," Hagrid said, his voice strained. "We need to keep moving." "But we can't just—" Harry began, but Hagrid cut him off. "Trust me, lad. Let's go." The two darted back into the trees, Fang barking wildly as he kept pace. The hooded figure pursued them, their spells lighting up the dark forest like flashes of lightning. Harry fired several spells over his shoulder as they ran, but their pursuer seemed relentless, each attack growing more precise. "Where's this grove you were talking about?" Harry called out, dodging a low-hanging branch. "Not far now," Hagrid replied, his deep voice strained with exertion. "Just need to keep 'em off our tails a bit longer." The forest began to change as they moved deeper. The trees grew taller, their trunks covered in thick, ancient moss. The air grew cooler, carrying a faint, otherworldly hum. Harry could feel the magic in the air, powerful and ancient. "This place feels different," he muttered. "Aye," Hagrid said. "The grove's protected by old magic. Once we're inside, they won't be able to follow." But before they could reach the safety of the grove, a searing jet of blue light struck the ground ahead of them, sending dirt and debris flying. They skidded to a halt, shielding their faces from the blast. The hooded figure stepped out of the shadows, blocking their path. This time, they weren't alone. Two more cloaked figures emerged from the trees, their wands drawn. "You didn't think it would be that easy, did you?" the first figure sneered. Harry raised his wand, his jaw tightening. "You'll have to go through us to get that egg." The second figure laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "That can be arranged." The clearing erupted into chaos as spells flew in every direction. Hagrid fired another bolt from his crossbow, narrowly missing one of the attackers. Harry sent a stunning spell toward the first figure, who deflected it with a flick of their wand. The third attacker lunged toward Hagrid, their wand aimed at his chest. "Protego!" Harry shouted, casting a shield charm that intercepted the spell just in time. "Nice work, Harry!" Hagrid called out, swinging his massive arm to knock the attacker to the ground. The second figure turned their attention to Fang, who growled menacingly, his teeth bared. With a wave of their wand, they sent a stunning spell toward the boarhound. Fang yelped and fell to the ground, motionless. "Fang!" Hagrid roared, his eyes blazing with fury. He charged at the figure, his sheer size and strength overwhelming them. They barely managed to raise their wand before Hagrid grabbed them by the collar and hurled them into a nearby tree. "You're not laying a finger on that egg," Hagrid bellowed. Meanwhile, Harry was locked in a duel with the first attacker, their spells clashing in midair. The figure was skilled, their movements precise and calculated. Harry's heart pounded as he dodged a jet of green light, a killing curse. "Hagrid, they're trying to kill us," he shouted. "I know, Harry," Hagrid replied, wrestling the third figure to the ground. "Just hold 'em off a bit longer." Just as the fight seemed to reach its breaking point, a deep, resonant hum filled the air. The attackers froze, their heads snapping toward the source of the sound. The trees around them began to glow faintly, their bark etched with ancient runes that shimmered with golden light. "We're close to the grove," Hagrid said, his voice filled with both relief and urgency. "Come on, Harry." The attackers hesitated, clearly unnerved by the sudden display of magic. Taking advantage of their distraction, Hagrid grabbed Harry by the arm and pulled him toward the glowing trees. As they crossed into the grove, an invisible barrier seemed to envelop them. The air grew warm and still, the hum of magic growing stronger. The attackers stopped at the edge of the grove, their wands raised, but their expressions wary. "You can't hide in there forever," the first figure shouted. "That egg will be ours." Hagrid turned to face them, his massive frame blocking the entrance to the grove. "You're not welcome here," he said firmly. "And if you value your lives, you'll leave now." The figures exchanged uneasy glances before retreating into the shadows, their forms disappearing into the forest. Inside the grove, the tension began to ease. The runes on the trees pulsed softly, their golden light casting a serene glow over the clearing. Hagrid gently placed the crate on the ground and opened it, revealing the egg nestled inside. "It's safe now," he said, his voice heavy with relief. Harry knelt beside him, studying the egg. Its surface shimmered like molten fire, its warmth palpable even from a distance. "It's beautiful," he murmured. "Aye," Hagrid agreed. "But it's also dangerous. That's why we've got to keep it out of the wrong hands." As they sat in the safety of the grove, Harry couldn't shake the feeling that their mission was far from over. The attackers knew about the egg, and they wouldn't give up so easily. "What happens next?" he asked quietly. Hagrid sighed, his gaze fixed on the egg. "We wait. Dumbledore'll know what to do." But deep down, they both knew the real battle was yet to come. The soft glow of the runes etched into the trees of the grove provided a temporary sense of safety. But Hagrid and Harry both knew their ordeal was far from over. The air within the grove hummed with ancient magic, an invisible shield separating them from the attackers who had tried to steal the Crimson Basilisk Egg. The egg itself rested safely in the wooden crate, its surface shimmering faintly with a fiery glow, almost as if it were alive and aware of the danger surrounding it. Hagrid sat on a moss-covered rock, his massive shoulders slumped with exhaustion. Fang lay by his feet, still recovering from the stunning spell that had knocked him out during the earlier fight. Harry paced nervously nearby, his wand still in his hand, his mind racing with thoughts of their next move. "They won't give up, will they?" Harry finally asked, breaking the silence. Hagrid shook his head. "No, lad. People like them don't stop until they get what they're after. That egg's worth too much to the wrong sort of people. But as long as we're in this grove, they can't touch us." Harry stopped pacing and turned to face Hagrid. "We can't stay here forever. What happens when we leave? They'll be waiting for us." Hagrid frowned, scratching his beard. He knew Harry was right. The grove's magic was powerful, but it was a temporary sanctuary. The moment they left, the danger would return. "I've got an idea," Hagrid said after a long pause. "There's a way to get the egg to safety, but it's risky." Harry raised an eyebrow. "Riskier than what we've already been through?" "Aye," Hagrid admitted. "We'll need to go through the Firegrove Pass. It's a shortcut to where I'm taking the egg, but it's no easy path. The place is crawling with dangerous creatures, and the magic there's wild and unpredictable." Harry considered this for a moment. "If it's our best chance, then we should do it. We've come this far already." Hagrid smiled faintly. "You're braver than most, Harry. Let's hope that courage holds." As dawn broke over the forbidden forest, Hagrid and Harry left the safety of the grove. The runes on the trees pulsed softly, as if bidding them farewell, and the ancient magic of the grove seemed to dim as they stepped back into the untamed wilderness. Fang stayed close to Hagrid, his keen nose sniffing the air for any sign of danger. The path to the Firegrove Pass was narrow and treacherous, winding through dense thickets and over rocky terrain. The further they went, the more the air seemed to change, growing warmer and heavier with a faint metallic tang. The trees became twisted and gnarled, their branches resembling clawed hands reaching toward the sky. "What exactly is this place?" Harry asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "The Firegrove Pass is an ancient part of the forest," Hagrid explained. "It's said to be touched by dragon fire. The magic here's wild and dangerous, but it's also the quickest way to where we're going." As they continued, the temperature rose steadily, and the faint glow of embers began to appear in the cracks of the ground. The air shimmered with heat, and the sound of distant growls and hisses reached their ears. "Keep your wand ready," Hagrid warned. "This place don't take kindly to strangers." Suddenly, a loud screech echoed through the pass, and a massive shadow swooped overhead. Harry looked up just in time to see a serpent-like creature with fiery scales and glowing eyes circling above them. "Fireworm," Hagrid muttered, raising his crossbow. "They're drawn to heat, and that egg's like a beacon." The fireworm let out another ear-splitting screech and dove toward them. Hagrid fired his crossbow, the bolt grazing the creature's side and sending it spiraling away momentarily. Harry raised his wand and shouted, "Stupefy!" But the spell barely seemed to faze the creature. "We need to keep moving," Hagrid shouted, grabbing Harry's arm and pulling him along. The fireworm gave chase, its massive wings stirring the air into a frenzy. As they fled deeper into the pass, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble. Hagrid skidded to a halt, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the terrain. "Something's wrong," he muttered. "This ain't just the fireworm." Before Harry could ask what he meant, the ground erupted in front of them, and a group of cloaked figures emerged from the shadows. The attackers from the forest had found them, and they weren't alone. They were accompanied by a massive, black-scaled serpent, its eyes glowing with a sinister red light. "Looks like you've led us right to it," one of the attackers sneered, pointing their wand at the crate on Hagrid's back. "Hand over the egg, and we might let you live." "You'll get nothing from us," Hagrid roared, drawing his crossbow. The attackers didn't wait for a response. Spells filled the air, flashing like fireworks in the dim light of the pass. Harry ducked behind a boulder, firing stunning spells at the cloaked figures, while Hagrid stood his ground, his massive frame shielding the crate. The black serpent lunged toward Hagrid, its fangs bared, but Fang leapt into action, snarling and biting at the creature's tail. The two animals clashed violently, their growls and hisses echoing through the pass. Harry managed to disarm one of the attackers, sending their wand flying into the air. "Hagrid, we're outnumbered!" he shouted. "I know!" Hagrid bellowed, swinging his crossbow like a club to knock another attacker to the ground. "Just hold him off a bit longer." In the chaos, a sudden cracking sound drew their attention. The crate on Hagrid's back began to glow, and the Crimson Basilisk Egg split open, fiery light spilling out as the creature inside emerged. The baby basilisk was unlike anything Harry had ever seen. Its scales shimmered like molten fire, and its eyes burned with an intense, otherworldly light. It let out a piercing cry that shook the very ground beneath them. The attackers froze, their faces pale with fear. Even the black serpent recoiled, hissing angrily as it backed away. "It's hatched!" Harry exclaimed. The baby basilisk turned its fiery gaze toward the attackers, who scrambled to retreat. With a single hiss, the creature unleashed a wave of heat and magic that sent them fleeing into the shadows. The black serpent tried to strike, but the basilisk coiled its small, fiery body and lunged, its jaws snapping shut around the serpent's neck. The larger creature writhed and thrashed before collapsing to the ground, lifeless. As the attackers disappeared and the pass grew quiet once more, the baby basilisk slithered toward Hagrid. Despite its fearsome appearance, it seemed calm, its fiery eyes meeting Hagrid's with an almost curious expression. Hagrid knelt down, extending a hand. "It's all right, little one. You're safe now." The basilisk hissed softly, coiling around Hagrid's arm. Harry watched in awe as the creature seemed to recognize Hagrid as its protector. "We need to get it to the sanctuary," Hagrid said, rising to his feet. "This place ain't safe for it." Together, they carried the baby basilisk to the hidden grove. The ancient magic of the grove flared to life as they entered, the runes glowing brighter than ever. The basilisk seemed to sense the safety of the place, slithering into the heart of the grove and settling among the glowing trees. Hagrid watched it go, a proud smile spreading across his face. The baby basilisk coiled up among the glowing roots, its fiery glow blending seamlessly with the golden light of the grove. It let out a soft, almost contented hiss, as if it knew it had finally found a place where it could grow in peace. Harry stood beside Hagrid, his wand still in hand, though the danger had passed. "Do you think it'll be safe here?" he asked, glancing at the small but already powerful creature. Hagrid nodded slowly. This place is protected by ancient magic, older than anything those attackers could understand. The basilisk will be safe here, at least for now." Harry watched the creature for a moment, then turned to Hagrid. "What happens when it gets bigger? Won't it be too dangerous to leave here?" Hagrid sighed, his large shoulders slumping slightly. "That's something for Dumbledore to decide. For now, we've done our part. We've kept it out of the wrong hands." As they left the grove, the protective magic shimmered behind them, sealing the sanctuary from the outside world. The air in the forest felt lighter now, though the weight of their journey still hung over them. Fang padded quietly beside Hagrid, his earlier injuries already healing, though he occasionally cast wary glances at the shadows. Harry walked in silence for a while before speaking. "Hagrid, why did Dumbledore trust you with something like this? I mean, it's so dangerous." Hagrid chuckled softly. "Dumbledore knows I care about magical creatures more than most. He knew I'd protect it no matter what. And, well, he's always had faith in me, even when others didn't." Harry smiled at that. "I can see why. You were amazing back there." Hagrid grinned, a faint blush creeping across his cheeks. "Ah, shucks, Harry. It wasn't just me. You did great, too. Those attackers would have had me pinned if it weren't for you." As they approached the edge of the Forbidden Forest, the familiar silhouette of Hogwarts came into view, its spires glowing warmly in the fading light of the evening. The sight brought a sense of relief and comfort to both of them. "We should tell Dumbledore what happened," Harry said. "He'll want to know about the attackers." Hagrid nodded. "Aye, we will. But first, I reckon we could use something to eat. All this runnin' and fightin' has made me hungry." Harry laughed, the tension of the day finally lifting. "You're always hungry, Hagrid." Later that evening, as the two sat in Hagrid's hut with plates of steaming stew, Harry couldn't help but replay the events of the day in his mind. The image of the baby basilisk's fiery gaze and the way it had protected them lingered in his thoughts. "Hagrid," he said suddenly, "do you think the basilisk understood what was happening? That it knew we were trying to help it?" Hagrid set down his spoon, his expression thoughtful. "Magical creatures like that, Harry. They've got a kind of sense that most people don't understand. It knew we weren't there to hurt it. That's why it trusted us." Harry nodded slowly, his respect for Hagrid growing even more. "Do you think we'll ever see it again?" Hagrid smiled, a twinkle in his eye. "Maybe one day, but for now, it's where it needs to be." As the fire crackled in the hearth, and the warmth of the hut enveloped them, Harry felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for surviving the day, but for having a friend like Hagrid. The dangers they had faced were real, but so was the bond they shared, forged in the heat of their shared trials. Outside, the forbidden forest stood silent once more, its secrets hidden beneath the ancient trees. And in the heart of the grove, the baby basilisk coiled up and slept, its fiery glow pulsing gently like the heartbeat of the forest itself. Far away, in a darkened chamber, the cloaked figures who had pursued Hagrid and Harry regrouped. Their leader paced angrily, their wand sparking faintly with frustration. "They've hidden it somewhere we can't reach," one of the figures muttered. "For now," the leader hissed, "but that creature is too valuable to leave alone. We will find it, and next time, we won't fail." The shadows seemed to shift and ripple around them, as if the forest itself recoiled from their presence. The hunt was not over, and the secrets of the Crimson Basilisk Egg were far from safe. Back at Hogwarts, Harry lay in his dormitory, staring out at the moonlit grounds. He couldn't shake the feeling that their adventure was only the beginning of something much larger. Somewhere out there, danger was still lurking. But for now, the egg was safe, and so were they. And for tonight, that was enough. As the tale of Hagrid's daring mission draws to a close, let this journey remind us of the courage that resides in the most unexpected of hearts, and the wonders that lie beyond the safety of the familiar. Remember, my fellow adventurers, that even in the face of magical perils and the unknown, the strength of friendship and a heart full of compassion can guide us through. Thank you for joining me tonight. Until next time, may your dreams be filled with the enchantment of Hogwarts, the warmth of Hagrid's hearth, and the promise of new magical adventures waiting to unfold. Good night.